Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andres, and today we're diving into one of Berserk's most emotionally devastating parts, Elf Island. This is where Guts finally reaches his destination after many, like basically hundreds of chapters, where Casca, we have a glimmer of hope that she's finally gonna get healed, and we also unfortunately get Kentaro Miura's last final chapters of the whole series. So yeah, let's jump into it. After an incredibly long journey, Guts and crew finally arrive to Elf Island. Unfortunately, things are never easy in the Berserk world, and they get immediately attacked by some magical defenses from the wizards of the island, but they take care of it relatively easily. They meet the young magicians that are apprentices in the island, as well as one of the sage or like elders of the island called Gidfring or Gidring. And he dumps a massive lore on us. Our crew learns that the great roar of the astral world, the events that happen after the Falconia or at the culmination of the Falconia chapters, came from Griffith, and that the world tree that now sits right beside the Falconia capital basically has branches that connect it to like all parts of the world. Not in like, I guess, a physical sense, but more of a metaphysical or astral sense. We learn also that what they call the larger parts of the tree are called dragon paths, and they basically connect to deeper parts of the astral world and to the abyss, I guess. And the Behelit, which we've talked about since like the beginning, are essentially open up these dragon paths that lead to the abyss, and that's where they hold the ceremonies with the God Hand and the conversion of the apostles and what happened with Femto Griffith in the Golden Age arc. And there used to be spirit trees that kind of limited the world tree's influence over everything and or limited its branches and its pathways. But Griffith has systematically taken them down and burned them down. That's what we saw him do to Flora's trees. Flora Shirk is a mentor. So he's been doing this. He's been burning it down in preparation for the world tree to finally blossom and come out. And I guess that these branches are literal pathways that they can use to travel all parts of the world, I'm assuming. I'm not sure what more relevance they have so far. The elders end up interrogating Guts about Griffith's intentions, and Guts plainly tells him he's always wanted a kingdom for himself. And now with the astral and physical world merged, the chaos that ensued after has essentially left Falconia as the only kingdom of the whole world, so Griffith has accomplished his dream. Mage elders basically mock Griffith because they say all that sacrifice, all that pain and chaos just to rule a kingdom. But Gut seems to believe differently, and he knows deep down inside that this is not the end for Griffith, and there's probably more that he will do after this. This is not, I'm accomplished my dream and I'll just move on and live in this kingdom in peace. He probably wants to do more with his power and wants to keep rising and going up. Then they meet Danan, the Flower Storm monarch and the leader of the elves. She does confirm finally what we desperately wanted to hear, that Casca can be fixed and her psyche can be recovered. It won't be Guts who's able to do it. It will have to be Lady Farnese and Shirke, because they're the only two of the crew that have, I guess, magical inclination or are magically tuned. So they enter Casca's mind, her dreams, her psyche, and what they find there is truly heartbreaking. Guts is represented as a black Doberman carrying a casket with Casca's doll-like remains. Inside that doll is a miniature Casca that looks really scared of everything going on. Farnese becomes her comfort throughout this journey, as they realize they need to gather scattered memories to essentially put back together Casca, and her doll literally starts putting her, like, coming back together as they recover these memories. And so we go through memory lane, not just for them, but for us, reliving the events of the Golden Age arc and onward. We see the Band of the Hawk, the bond between Guts, Casca, and Griffith, all the moments that really made us fall in love with this story in the first place. Then comes the eclipse sequence in the dream, and we see some really disturbing looking, kind of phallic looking demons. And Griffith appears as a black hawk attacking our crew relentlessly. The Doberman version of Guts ends up donning the Berserker armor, and he looks pretty cool, honestly. And we get the final memory fragment from Casca's mind, the one that will finally recover her psyche. And it ends up being probably the saddest, which is memories of the fetus, the baby that she lost, the baby that was corrupted during the eclipse by Femto slash Griffith. When they finally put Casca back together, they discover her heart it has thorns wrapped around it. And this seems to be the price of healing. She will experience agony from retaining her memories and sanity because her broken state was a defense mechanism all along. Farnes ends up making the choice to go through with it anyway. They return to reality and Casca seems normal. She remembers everything. She knows even the new crew members that they've met along the way despite her being in a childlike state the whole time. It's really a cathartic and emotional moment for all of us that we've been really waiting for the whole series. I honestly didn't think it was going to happen, so it really took me by surprise because I didn't really read any spoilers about Berserk while reading through. And then she finally meets up with Guts after so many chapters, after so many adventures, and she faints. All the memories of the eclipse, all the trauma, it just comes crashing back into her in an instant. The curse of the thorns wrapped around her heart. She can't even look at him without reliving her worst nightmares. And this is such a masterful moment of storytelling. After hundreds of chapters, after all this suffering and hope, Casca is restored. But she and Guts can't be together. The very sight of him triggers her trauma. Miura gives us exactly what we wanted, and yet he makes it be the most bitter and most sweet moment I've probably ever experienced in a manga. But meanwhile, we cut to scenes of Griffith in Falconia, playing, God Emperor in his utopia. He's talking about accepting all people, educating children, building a perfect society. And honestly, it's disgusting. Not because these aren't good things, but because of the context. He created this chaos. He sacrificed everyone. He merged worlds and caused chaos to unfold. And now he gets to play the savior. It all feels like a massive lie to feed this giant ego of his. These scenes work so well because Miura makes us feel the weight of Griffith's hypocrisy. He has everything he's ever wanted, and he's even beloved for it. But back in Elf Island, the Skull Knight arrives, and everyone in the island calls him king. They visit Hanar, the dwarven craftsman who created the Berserker armor. And Hanar mentions that his craftsmanship is keeping the Skull Knight alive, hinting about something special to do with the Skull Knight's armor. Hanar then triggers Guts' armor, and we end up getting flashbacks. We see essentially when Skull Knight wore it in the past during an old Eclipse event. There's a different group of God Hand members, though Void remains as one of them. We also see a queen dying in Skull Knight's arms, who looks identical to Danan, the elf queen. And we learn that Flora, Shirka's mentor, violated some taboo on the day of the eclipse. And this opens up a new can of worms. Was Skull Knight the guy who killed these other God Hand members? Was he himself a God Hand who sacrificed his love, and that's why we're seeing his own eclipse event? I guess another question, whose eclipse event was this? Was this perhaps Void eclipse event? Did Flora revive the queen? Is that the taboo? And this queen became Danan probably without Danan's memories and started the elf race. The sad reality of this is that due to Miura's passing, we'll probably never get concrete answers. But what we can conclude from it all is pretty clear. Guts' trajectory mirrors the Skull Knight's, and he needs to free from the cycle, break from it, or he'll become the same hollow knight wandering for centuries. Later on one night, the mysterious boy returns to spend some time with Casca, and now, we obviously know that the mysterious boy is the child fetus that Casca lost. So it's nice to see him reunited with his mother now that she's, in her back to her normal self. But one night while she's sleeping, Guts meets with the boy outside of the house Casca's in. and then he suddenly transforms into Griffith. And we knew the boy and Griffith shared a body since the Tower of Conviction. But seeing it happen now and finally revealing itself plainly is still pretty shocking. And then comes the most heartbreaking panels in the entire series, at least for me. Griffith tells Guts that he's been dreaming about him and Casca, dreaming about him being this little boy, spending time, I guess, with his family. These dreams give him all a sense of nostalgia, but then it all fades away, and he returns to reality where everything has forever changed, and things can no longer be the same. This was Kentaro Miura's final panel. I didn't know when I was close to the end that I was this close to Miura's final panels and final chapters, and this hit me like a truck. Because this speech from Griffith feels like it relates to Miura's passing in kind of a meta way. It's as if Miura is telling us himself, moving forward, we might have nostalgic moments where we're reading Berserk, continuing on this journey, and feeling like things are as they always have been, but the realization will quickly set in that things are different now. They will never be the same without him. The Elf Island arc is really cruel in its generosity. It finally gives Guts what he wanted, Casca's psyche restored, but he cannot even embrace her without her collapsing from the trauma she's lived. And now with Miura's passing, we are left with many questions about the Skull Knight, about Void, about the cycles of revenge, about the God Hand, about the idea of evil or whatever it's called. But Berserk continues now through Studio Gaga and Koju Mori. Miura's close friend, who apparently through talks with Miura knew where the story was heading, but obviously he doesn't have all the details and they don't have everything in plain writing about planning of what was to come next. Miura himself, I think, said that he didn't know. He was still figuring it out on his own. But these Elf Island chapters represent the last fully realized vision of Kentaro Miura. As for my personal journey with Berserk, I tried to continue after Miura's last chapter and just felt unmotivated. I think I will be taking an extended break until the story has progressed much further or it has finished so I can come in with a fresher perspective and less expectations. I'm truly grateful for reading Berserk at this time in my life. I don't think I would have appreciated it as much if I was younger, if I was like in my late teens or a young, or I guess early 20s. I probably would have seen things from more of a edgy mindset and loved the gore and violence more. But coming in, I just turned 32, and I feel like Guts' character is what truly stands out to me, and I feel like his journey is obviously not very relatable in most aspects, but it's a journey of maturing through trauma and through hard life events, and I think we can all relate to that to some extent. So I will be forever grateful to Berserk for the lessons I've taken from it. I am not deep into the lore and thick of things I've mentioned in previous videos. I don't really care too much about stuff relating to the God Hand and the idea of evil and astral worlds and magic and so on. I am somewhat I am somewhat curious of where stuff with Skull Knight would have gone, just because I think that would have played into a bigger part into the general messaging and themes of Berserk and Guts' character. But I'm still satisfied with what's there and what Miura wrote so far. So yeah, I think I just need some time to process everything, because reading through the chapters after, I was just in my head, I was just getting in my head thinking this is just not the same. And I don't think I was giving the Studio Gaga and Koji Mori a chance. But yeah, I love to hear your thoughts on Elf Island, Miura's last chapters, and where the story's going in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing for more content. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.